What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got some major legal battles and fights for abortion rights and pro-choice and pro-life going on here in a lot of states right now. We also have, that's one of the top issues, actually. I think it's in the top 5 issues, along with gun safety and inflation and the border issues. Generally, in most of the top polls, make up the top 5 issues. I know that's only 4 of them, but they generally vary here. Inflation and economic concerns generally are the top issues, normally number 1 here right now. And, rightfully so here. And but generally we see those vary here by the as the months roll on here. But and inflation has just been outrageous here right now. And some former President Donald Trump major news here, including who may have told the FBI about the Trump about what Trump had at his Mar-a-Lago estate. We got a lot going on here. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet so you don't miss out on new videos. And it's completely free. And don't forget to hit the like button for us. Here we go. Check this out. So one of the first things we're going to cover here right now is a major battle. A South Carolina Republican lawmaker named Neil Collins, he's a state Republican lawmaker, chokes up describing a teen who was at risk, I believe she's 19, of losing her uterus and potentially dying due to an abortion ban that he voted for. He says, quote, "That week I did not sleep and that the girl could have died on." Here's what he had to say. Take a listen.
I voted for the pain-capable bill, the fetal heartbeat bill, and fetal heartbeat has been for 6 weeks now. The second week that the fetal heartbeat bill became law, a doctor called me out of Anderson. I live in Easley. A 19-year-old girl appeared at the ER. She was 15 weeks pregnant. Her water broke. And the fetus was unviable. The standard of care was to advise her that they could extract or she could go home. The attorneys told the doctors that because of the fetal heartbeat bill, because that 15-week-old had a heartbeat, the doctors could not extract. So their only choices were to admit the 19-year-old until that fetal heartbeat stopped. I asked, how long does it take to stop? She said, seconds, minutes, hours, maybe days. Or discharge. They discharged that 19-year-old. The doctor told me at that point, there's a 50% chance. Well, first, she's going to pass this fetus in the toilet. She's going to have to deal with that on her own. There's a 50% chance, greater than 50% chance that she's going to lose her uterus. There's a 10% chance that she will develop sepsis and herself die. That weighs on me. I voted for that bill. These are affecting people, and we're having a meeting about this. It took that whole week, I did not sleep. I followed up with the doctor a week later. She had heard nothing, did not know about the 19-year-old. Thank God I followed up 2 weeks later. She did return to the ER. They did extract the now non-beating fetus. What we do matters.
Thank you, Representative Collins.
1 second, Mr. Chairman. I'm almost finished. Out of respect for the process, I'm not voting today. But I want it to be clear that myself and many others are not in a position to vote for this bill without significant changes to the bill. And
as Representative Newton said, if we pass this out as favorable, you'll have an opportunity on the House floor.
Now, I actually commend Mr. Republican Representative Neil Collins there. He happens to be pro-life. I actually tend to be a little bit more pro-choice only because I believe that the government should not take the choice away from a woman, especially because of circumstances like this. Because of the fact that my wife had a miscarriage. My wife had a miscarriage before we had our son Julian, and she had a baby die inside of her. Okay, it was a really sad time for us. Luckily, we were able to have another baby, our son Julian, and my wife went through a miscarriage and had this happen to her. Okay, and my wife had to go to a doctor and had to have the non beating heart fetus removed from a doctor. Here's the problem, okay? A lot of these states are passing no exception rules where they will not have a doctor remove the fetus until there is, like, you heard exactly what he had to say. He explained it perfectly. And the doctors would not help her until the heart was not beating. And even though the fetus was not viable, the doctors already knew that. Okay. The problem you wait until that time, the mother could die. She could lose her uterus. There was a 50-50 chance of her losing her uterus, and there was a 10% chance of her dying. Okay. These are very, very dangerous things. In fact, women die all the time giving birth. My wife almost died giving birth, actually, not from the miscarriage, but from the second time around when she gave birth to our son Julian. Okay, our son Julian, my wife had preeclampsia, which is severely high blood pressure. They actually induced her 2 weeks early, and her blood pressure was something like 200 over like 140 or 150 when she gave birth, and was going higher and higher and higher. And this was, they gave birth, they induced her 2 weeks early, and they had a whole team in there that they sent in there in case she into cardiac arrest. And they had her on magnesium, and they had her on so much magnesium that she couldn't walk for a day, and she couldn't see more than 3 feet in front of her. She was on so much of this drug. So if she wasn't at a hospital, if she like did an at-home birth like a lot of women do nowadays, she probably would have died. So these things are like very serious. And a lot of states are passing a lot of like very restrictive uh pro life bills that women are going to die from. Now, I get it. A lot of people are pro life and a lot of people are pro choice. I'm actually okay with that. And you should be too. Well, I can't even say that because a lot of people have different opinions. And that's what's good thing about America is that we're the land of free opinion, the land of free speech, right? Everybody has a different opinion. The problem with this is that we're forcing women to potentially die. We're forcing the no exceptions rule. Okay. And I actually commend the Republican representative there because he's kind of realizing here that you can't fit everybody inside a no exceptions box. It's like trying to fit the whole world, the whole United States in a no exceptions box. And look what's happening already. The bill hasn't even passed in South Carolina, and this type of stuff is already happening. Okay? And doctors don't want to perform the surgeries already because of the legal circumstances. Doctors will lose their medical licenses, and they go to school for this and have hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt, and they don't want to lose their license because if they lose it, it's done forever. Okay, so doctors are already in a sticky situation, and they're basically being told by their medical boards and their lawyers and their advisory teams, if in doubt, you can't do it. So women's lives are at risk. And if you look at the polling, whether you're pro life or pro choice, 90% of Americans, including both groups there and even the groups that kind of fall in the middle, 90% of everybody thinks that when it comes to things like rape incest, and if the woman's life is at danger, or if the fetus is not viable, the baby's going to die either way, like in this circumstances, that there should be exceptions. If the woman's been raped, there should be exceptions. If the fetus is non-viable, there should be exceptions. But the problem is a lot of these states are passing no exception rules. Like Ohio, we had that famous story of that 10-year-old girl who was raped, and there was no exceptions. They said, sorry, we don't care. And she had to leave and go to Indiana. And Indiana, then afterwards, as you can see here, actually, this is from the New York Times, after that happened, actually passed their own abortion ban with limited exceptions. You can see here the law passed despite dividing Republicans. Some of them said the measure was too restrictive. Others objected to the limited exceptions for rape and incest. So even some of the Republicans here objected to the exceptions, like rape, saying even if the woman's raped, they still don't think there should be exceptions. This is the problem here. And the problem with that argument is that, one, I see some people say, well, they could give them up for adoption, but can you imagine putting the woman through that and having her to go through that for 9 months, and just the mental anguish and having to live through that? And number two is that, oh, you could give them the baby up for adoption, and I get that whole theory. The problem with that is that right now, there are 400,000 children in foster care, and approximately 117,000 are waiting to be adopted and have not been adopted yet. So there's hundreds of thousands of kids in foster care waiting to be adopted, of which nobody has adopted them yet. So if you want to adopt a child, by all means, there's hundreds of thousands of them who have not been adopted yet. So we need to make exceptions for women who could die or lose their uteruses when the fetus is not viable. And I mean, you let me know your thoughts here on this, but nonetheless, the near total abortion ban advanced in South Carolina, and we'll now go to the to the next stage, and we'll see what happens. And this is what is happening in a lot of states. So make your voices heard, whatever you think is right. Again, everybody has a slightly different opinion on this, but we will see. By the way, Kansas, which was, I think, the only state, or one of the only states, that actually put it on a ballot and let the actual people vote, not just the congressmen. Voters in Kansas got to actually vote. Kansas is typically a deeper red Republican state, and they let the people vote on it on a ballot, and the people decided to reject making abortion illegal, and they decided to keep it legal in the state when it went to the people voting on it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. Next up, a judge says he may unseal parts of the Mar-a-Lago affidavit, and the public may learn more information. As a lot of people are like, what's going on here? We want to learn more. A federal magistrate judge on Thursday said he may be willing to unseal portions of an affidavit used to apply for the search warrant on former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, ordering Justice Department officials to suggest redactions to the document. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhardt said he believes the Justice Department has not sufficiently shown that the document should remain entirely secret, saying, quote, "I find that on the present record, the government has not met its burden of showing that the entire affidavit should remain sealed," he said in a brief order. The judge issued his ruling during a hearing in West Palm Beach, Florida. where several news outlets had argued that the significant public interest in the filing justifies disclosing at least part of it. According to the New York Times, Reinhardt said there were parts of the affidavit that, quote, could be presumptively unsealed, and that it was not for him to decide whether, quote, those portions would be meaningful for the public or the media. The affidavit, which was used to convince Reinhardt that there was enough evidence to support the probable cause needed to obtain the search warrant, contains information about the federal law enforcement investigation into Trump's handling of material marked classified following his departure from the White House. And that Reinhardt told the Department of Justice to send him proposed redactions to the affidavit next Thursday, and he would review whether they were appropriate. This is going to be a considered, careful process, the judge said. Questions about the Department of Justice investigation have been mounting since news of the search broke last week. The public pressure led to the department taking the rare step of agreeing to publicly releasing a copy of the warrant and a list of the materials it seized. The warrant released on Friday showed that investigators suspected Trump of violating federal laws around his handling of sensitive material, including the Espionage Act. But the affidavit, which would likely provide damning details about the investigation thus far, has remained under seal, which is how it always would be. This would be a rare case that they would unseal this. Last week, several major news outlets filed motions in federal court to release it. Department of Justice lawyers said there remains compelling reasons, including to protect the integrity of an ongoing investigation that implicates national security and support keeping the affidavit sealed. What's interesting here is that a lot of people, especially, we'll be honest here, Republicans and Trump supporters are focusing on why did they search Trump's property, not the fact that they actually found what they were looking for. It's kind of weird, strange, ironic. It's kind of like, well, we're not going to focus on the evidence that they found, more so that why were they looking for evidence? It's like I don't even know how to. It's so strange. I feel like if you were Trump, the the better defense would be, and honestly, we've seen so many different type of already legal defenses there. I think probably one of the best defenses for Trump would maybe be the whole I made it an unclassified document, which he could do. The problem is that there's no paper trail or documents stating that he declassified these documents. But here's another report here on this. A Trump aide thinks a family member may have informed on him to the FBI agents because the FBI agents knew exactly where to find a specific leather case, a report says. Aides to former President Donald Trump believe that a member of his family may have tipped off the FBI about the presence of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Multiple sources to Trump told the publication, The Guardian, I think multiple places are reporting this at this point, that after August 8th search, that aides began speculating about who may have been speaking to the FBI. In that search, agents took more than a dozen boxes of items, as well as highly classified information. And the speculation is that it has to be somebody very close to Trump. Aides were convinced that only a family member would have known to point agents to a particular leather-bound box, as well as knowing the location of Trump's safe alone. You got to think, probably not too many people know where his safe is. That's probably deep inside there, right? Both Trump's estranged niece, Mary, and his former attorney, Michael Cohen, have speculated that Jared Kushner, the former president's son in law, could be the informant. Neither offer evidence to back the claim, though. According to multiple reports, agents conducting the raid were acting on information, including witness testimony, that Trump had not returned all the classified information which was requested by the Justice Department and National Archives. The New York Times has reported that agents also obtained surveillance footage via subpoena of a hallway near the storage room where the documents were being kept and saw something that alarmed them. The Justice Department has asked a judge not to release the affidavit, which details the probable cause the search was based on, saying that it could provide information about the scope of the investigation. Trump has said he wants the document to be made public. We will see what happens here. So let me know your thoughts here. New things unfolding every single day. This is really one of those scandals. I'm really on both sides here. Republicans claiming it's the Democrats claiming it's Trump, saying he shouldn't take the documents. Republicans pointing the finger at the FBI. The FBI saying the head of the FBI is a Republican appointed by former President Donald Trump. You really can't make this stuff up, guys. It's one of these things here on a daily basis. It's like, look at what has just come out every single day. It's like, wow. And you really got to wonder, where does this end? Where does this end? Especially because Trump is the front runner for the Republican Party to run again as president. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. Can you imagine if Trump becomes president again for the Republican Party and and that's the FBI as the FBI, and if Trump became the president again, can you imagine those guys working together? Yeah, I imagine he would fire the FBI director the day he became president, but he'd still have to work with the FBI agency as a whole, right? So, yikes. So, I'll keep you up to date here on a daily basis. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, and if you want to know about the armed IRS agents that are coming for you, there's details about that in this video here. And also about $1,500 and $3,000 checks going out here to millions of people in that video. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.